I think like we have to go back maybe to probably like 10 or 15 years ago when it was significantly easier to understand that when you are tracking a click or a conversion, it happened in a very one-to-one realm where somebody, there weren't as many ad blockers. There wasn't cookie deprecation. It was just way easier to trust and understand that the data that different platforms are putting out there was accurate. Now, it's just not the case. Pretty much iOS 14 was a big revelation in how tracking online changed about, 3 years ago, maybe. And we see it with GA4 now, that a lot of the data that we were able to see previously, we no longer can. Google a few years ago took away the ability to see traffic from specific key organically. And that ability to get that insight across your advertising is virtually gone. So the metrics that we traditionally use, like CPC or CPM, while they're
we know that Google's pushing more campaign types that are a little less controllable and trackable. I think that was the direction that Drew was heading in with performance max campaigns, demand generation campaigns. We're no longer controlling necessarily the search queries that we're showing up for. We're no longer necessarily tracking on a bid level. So we're now having to adjust to these looser controls and have a little bit more faith in the Google AI to make sure that we're getting in front of the people that we want to, and trust that the dynamic tools within that platform are going to get us the most quality traffic at the lowest costs, knowing that some of those controls are being sunsetted. Paid search was historically a channel that I think people really gravitated towards because of the control and the ease of seeing cause and effect. And with more privacy settings rolling out, and with the shifts that Google has deliberately chosen to move towards, there's been a lot less of that direct attribution that we were used to from that channel. So getting more comfortable with the unknown with that tactic is going to be something that's incredibly important moving forward. And Drew is back with us, so I hope I did him justice.
It's like a perfect transit.
Ladies, when it comes to metrics and measurements that you're seeing that are becoming increasingly important to include as you're evaluating outside of what we've traditionally used, is there anything specific that you can share with the audience of KPIs, measurements that they should be thinking about now?
Yeah, I think to piggyback off of something that Julie was saying earlier about first-party audiences, all CPMs, all tactics are not created equal. We really can't think about CPMs in a vacuum anymore. There are addressable tactics that can literally give you that attribution data. You can match back those customers to the sales and service and retail transactions that they've made with your company. So I think focusing more on actual results versus CPMs, click-through rates, things like that is really important as we shift into that audience focus.
Thank you for jumping in. Drew, are you with us
Try this again?
Yeah, go for it.
Zoom telling me that my camera stinks. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right, cool. So I think I'm going to try to talk about attribution again. Or
not. We're gonna, Julie, jump right in.
I was kind of going to highlight the same thing Amanda went over. Definitely something I experience is, clients talking about the click-through rate or view-throughs or whatever the metric that it may be. But I always try to remind everyone with display, any display tactic, it is a brand awareness tactic. You know, it's really that top of the funnel designed to keep you top of mind. And when we're able to run these geo-addressable campaigns using this first party data, we're getting our name out there and we're able to track it back to that, you know, household, and then see if there was a sales transaction or a service transaction. So that to me is a really valuable data. So I think kind of as we move forward in the digital landscape, just remembering with display, it's a brand awareness piece. And while it does serve for retention and performance purposes, we just want to make sure the name is top of mind. And then we're also looking at the audience data that we're using these ads for.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just to add to your point, I think that we've come a long way from unique visitors in Google Analytics being the only way that we understood how many potential people were coming to the site and how much we should be spending. And frankly, those we've busted those myths that they're not a one-to-one, right? One unique visitor could have 8 devices that really result in one sale. So I think shifting the mindset to households, shifting the mindset to influence over just one of the 7 models of attribution that could be limiting how you allocate your dollars and how you define success. But one thing that I love that I've seen you all do is to define KPIs for the goals of the business while also considering what specific channel we're looking at. So there isn't this blanket metric that says, oh, we're successful because we've done X. We're really thinking about that full picture because each of those channels can result in different things. If you really want clicks to the site, you're going to get clicks to the site, but is it really driving the kind of success that you're looking for, and for the cost that you're looking for it? So I really appreciate you all walking us through all of these things. And I feel like we could continue talking for probably another hour. So as we wrap up, before we conclude the metrics and measurements, is there anything else we need to hit on before we start to conclude about metrics? I did want to bring up issue-based, not to bring back politics really quickly before we moved on. There is, I'm going to be on a soapbox for like 20 seconds because it is so important. One of the greatest lessons I ever learned at the last dealership I was with was that it's so important to zoom out. And so as we talk about metrics, I will keep repeating this on webisodes that I'm on, but layering, just looking so granularly, so macro, so micro into each of these different channels to make sure they're successful can be very limiting when you're thinking about how best to evaluate the success and allocation of your dollars. So think about the larger things that are happening in the world around you. Politics is one of those things that you should be thinking about and documenting. So when you go back next year and you're looking at these periods of time, you can remember why the allocation was the way that it was, and the results that you saw were really considering these other things happening, and weather patterns like hailstorms can impact and make it seem like your campaign was more successful than it was. So really making sure that you're zooming out, looking at the bigger picture, and also documenting what's happening around you is important.